Chicago mortgage rates. And when they click on Chicago mortgage rates, when it needs to go back to their this particular blog site. So for example, we're on portfoliomortgages.com. And this would not start out as a link. So what I'm going to do is kill this link. So you'll see that it's not a link right now. All you need to do to create a link out of this text is to highlight the phrase, hit this little button right here that's called Insert or Edit the Link. And now this box pops up and says, where do you want this to point to? We just hit paste because remember we just picked the main part of the website here, the blog site that we're writing for. And this is optional, but if you want to type it in, and they usually have it open in a new window. Because when this is on other websites, this particular article, we do like a elaborate syndication system, so this could show up on 40 different websites. We want it to usually open in a new window so that users aren't taken away from whatever site they're also on. So now I just hit Add Link, and you'll see that now this is a hyperlink, which links to the main part of the site. I'm going to hit Save Draft again. And see, now we're all green. We went from 87% to 91.11, and we satisfied all the factors here. Now, we're not quite at 100. Variety of reasons. It could be a little bit because maybe 1.56 keyword density is just a tad too high now. So if we were to make this article longer, we could drive that down, maybe get this closer to 95, 96%. But remember, anything over 85, even 80% is pretty strong. And we actually want to stay away from being too over-optimized now because Google continues to change the rules. But here we have completed all the steps, and I'll kind of just walk through them real quick. We have a title of the article with the keyword phrase in it, which was Chicago mortgage rates. We have an H1 tag, meaning a heading of the largest type with the keyword phrase in it. Down here we have an H2 with the keyword phrase in it. Up here we have an H3 with the keyword phrase in it. We have it sprinkled throughout, woven into the article in places that make sense. And by doing that, we have it auto, bold, italicized, and underlined, which you don't see here because this is in edit mode, but once we actually publish it, it will all show up on the finished copy automatically, so you don't have to really worry about that. The only thing you have to do is make sure you have that keyword phrase, appearing enough times in the article for the plugin to do its work. And then here in the author paragraph, we mentioned the author's name. So author Frank Samis of Bridgeview Bank is a seasoned mortgage professional dedicated to bringing his subscribers relevant and useful information on how to obtain the most competitive mortgage rates. If you want a free mortgage checkup, check out the following link for some free expert advice on how to source the best Chicago mortgage rates. So we use the keyword phrase in the very last sentence, which is key, and we made it a hyperlink, which points to the main site. Oh, I kind of screwed up here. I got to go right on it. See? portfoliomortgage.com. In the real world version of this, it would be franksamis.com, but this is the example I'm using right now. So just a couple other quick things. We have, in every article, you have the opportunity to choose a category and what are called tags. Tags are similar to keywords and keyword phrases, but they're usually just a shorter version or just one or two words versus a longer keyword phrase like Chicago mortgage rates. Let's first talk about categories. So this is like the subject. If you were looking through a book or even a magazine for an article like this, what category or chapter would it be under? So let's say mortgage rates would probably be most common, and I'm actually going to make a category for Chicago, just because Chicago lenders, just because there's going to be a lot of stories about that. Okay, so we got those two categories. That's fine. Usually just one or two categories is plenty. Now these tags, you really want to ask yourself, what is this article about? What categories could it be in? Who's in it? What other stories can be related to this? So we're going to go with like Chicago lenders, rates, Bridgeview, bank, EMC, which is an acronym they use for their company, Frank Samis, who's in the story, maybe like low mortgage rates, just like a whole bunch of related topics, so to speak, or tags. So now that we have everything complete, we would hit publish. And now it's basically done, and we can go to view post. And here we go. So this shows live on the website how to find the best Chicago mortgage rates. We have the H1 tag here. Now see how it automatically, the plugin made this show up bold? And that is because that's what the plugin is set to do. So all we had to do is make sure we showed the keyword phrase enough times, and then it took care of that work for us. Here we have our H2 tag, which includes the keyword phrase. Here we have the H3, the smallest one, and then we have our author paragraph. And when we click on the link, it takes us to the home page of this blog site. Okay. And it opened it in a new screen too, like we told it to, which is great. That's really everything that goes into, the optimization part. Let me bring back. That's basically all the nuts and bolts. As we come full circle, you might ask, okay, what does this really do for the client? So by optimizing each of these blogs as close as possible to what Google's looking for as far as those factors, it gives each page the highest probability or chance of showing up high in the search ranking. So let's say, like we said, we had a potential customer who was looking to refinance. They might search for Chicago mortgage rates on Google. Let's say this page pops up somewhere on page 1 or 2. It gets clicked on. The client's going to read this and they're going to say, okay, this is interesting. This talks about what a broker versus a banker is, closing costs, everything they would need to know to kind of get an overview of what they need to do or what factors they need to consider when they refinance. So here they're reading this and they're saying, okay, I got some value out of this. This is pretty interesting. And wow, this guy who runs this site, this loan officer really sounds like he knows what he's talking about. And they say, oh, this Frank Samis guy, okay, yeah, he's expert. He's been in the business for how many years, blah, blah, blah. So what we're doing here is we're giving them free, useful information, earning trust. And then once they get this and they read this, their defensive shields against being sold something are down, and they might then see, wow, I like this guy. I want to see what kind of rates he can get me. And now here on the right, at least for these like sales type clients, we always want to have some sort of form so that users have the opportunity to ask for a free quote right on the spot. So they put in their location of their property, their name, email address, phone number, and then they click this to get a free quote. So coming full circle, this is how we've gone from writing good content, optimizing it so that it shows up on Google, getting found on Google, consumers clicking on the link, landing here, reading this, seeing value in it, then filling out this form in many cases, and turning a blog into real business for our clients. So that's blog optimization. An example I'd like to show is, so this particular client here